Good morning and welcome to the program Perspectives. This morning, Perspectives on Invicta 98.9. And this morning, we're talking about us. We're talking about Nigerians as a people. Well, at this time, the question that will be asked, or should be asked, is are we happy as a people? And is our well-being being properly taken care of? I know that a lot of answers will come to that. With COVID-19, how much can we talk about being happy? With the frustrations, about on governance, how much can we talk about happiness? And killings and of course happening all around us, and man's inhumanity to man that we see around us. How well can we say that we are happy people and our well-being is being looked after? This morning on the program Perspectives, I'll be talking to the chairman of an NGO, Happiness and Well-being Center. As a project is an offshoot of SEMA, and the chairman of this NGO is Sami Ihejirika. It's a long distance call to Abuja. We'll be talking about why the NGO, why happiness and well-being for Nigeria at this time. Sami Ihejirika, good morning and glad to have you on the program Perspectives. Hello. Can you hear me, Sami?
I'm hearing you now.
Yes, okay. So just give it an introduction there about happiness and well-being, and I'm sure that's talking about if we are as a people happy and well-being being taken care of. You are the chairman of this.
Not,
I can hear you, Sami. I can hear you loud and clear. Can we move? Go on. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Now, Sami. Okay. And you got my intro there, my background there.
I didn't hear it all.
Okay, well, I was talking about as the chairman of Happiness and Well-being Center, and asking the question that as a people, as Nigerians, can we really talk about being happy people and well-being being taken care of in the face of all that is coming to us as a people? Coronavirus is taking its toll on Nigerians, people dying, and of course sometimes not knowing cause of death. We're talking about governance, which Nigerians are really, up against, that we probably are not being given the kind of governance that we would, want, and of course, talking about the Nigerian dream. Are we getting the Nigerian dream, or are we near it? And the promises that have been made to the people that for the advent of this administration, Nigerians, were given a picture of El Dorado, that we will get there as a happy people and with our world being taken care of. But are we there 6 years into the life of this administration? And we're talking about banditry, the killings. Nigerian turns to a killing field in the northeast region, and there's so many things that are happening with us, and corruption. Why a few individuals are taking the commonwealth of the people. So in the face of all of these, how can we talk about being happy people and our well-being being taken care of? You are the chairman of this organization, or this NGO. So how did it come about, and what were you looking at?
Thank you, Tony. Tony, and thank you. Welcome. Good morning, listeners. As a matter of fact, Nigerians are very angry. Not just unhappy; they're very angry. And because most of the expectations have been dashed, they were full of hopes. When the president was elected in 2015, Nigerians were very hopeful that it would be a very direct change from what we saw with the PDP government. So there was a lot of hope and enthusiasm. But 4 years down the line, most of the promises were not kept. Power was not restored. People who graduated from school did not get jobs. They were not paid 5,000 naira like they were promised. Naira didn't come down. The price of fuel still went very high, and things were not really what we are promised, and people were highly disappointed. And in any case, to reinvigorate that enthusiasm among the people, the government came up with a slang, next level. That they were taking Nigerians to the next level, and everybody was hopeful. Even though Nigerians were very hungry and they were wondering whether they would crawl to the next level, because they didn't have energy, so they really go to the next level. And we were expecting miracles to happen, but that didn't happen. So 6 or 7 years down the line, we're still where we are, or even finding a very worse situation, because everything has virtually collapsed. So as a matter of fact, and then the Nigerians are paying a lot of tax, they're being overburdened, with all kinds of charges and taxes from the banks, from the government, and because of the government's inability to diversify the economy, and find other ways of generating income. So they put the burden on the ordinary people, and then not just that. The people are toiling, hitting their heads against the wall, working for somebody else. And then we see these people living in our opulence, living in our, taunting our wealth, before us. So Nigerians are really very, very angry. They're bottled in. Most times we don't have any way to express our anger. So in fact, as a matter of fact, the stress level in the country is so high, very, very high, and nobody's thinking about it. That one day Nigerians will explode. When you bottle up so much, for a long period of time, that you will seek a way to let out the steam. And I feel that the government is taking the people for granted. And they might be surprised what the people can do. Because in so many ways, people are just showing trying to express their anger by all kinds of behaviors. We can see what's happening in the armed forces. About 360-something officers resigned. We've never had where people resign from the armed forces, And then we could see a corporal come online and blast his commander-in-chief, and then he was arrested. So some of this are not good signs. And then the saga of Mango and corruption and all that. And this is a government that came fight, with a mantra of the blazing of fighting corruption. People have been shouting that so many things are within the system. Lots of things have happened in Azarok, which shouldn't happen. Lots of things have happened within the polity. Everything has been politicized. And EFCC has been used to hound down opponents and people who criticize the government and things like that. So, and then appointments have been so lopsided. If you want to build a country, you want to build a nation, man, you have to work with everybody. You have to pull everybody together to be able to achieve that purpose. So if you don't bring people together, feel them, empathize with them, understand their fears and their needs, because most times we don't address the fears of Nigerians. There are so many reasons why Nigerians can work together. They have certain fears and they have certain needs, and nobody's bothering to help them articulate those very clearly and see the meeting grounds where they can find the solutions to their problems. So, in the absence of government, making people feel happy, I think people have to find their own ways of lifting their souls, because without happiness, you cannot feel well. You can have a well-being.
Yes, and you're talking about happiness and well-being at this time. Well, what are we to be looking at, and where should we go, to find happiness and take care of ourselves, our well-being?
Well, collectively, I think Nigerians have suffered enough, and they are virtually suffocating within, in the mess. So I feel like when people are losing oxygen, when they're suffocating, nobody will tell them that they have to extricate themselves. One of the biggest challenges facing the country today is this identity issue. That we have taunted ethnicity and religion as the basis for deciding so many things that happen in the country, and so far it has not paid off. It has not paid off. What we have seen so far is that those things have kind of enthroned mediocrity. We don't get the best out of all the things we have done. We have seen things like federal character, quota system, cut-off mark, all those kind of stuff, hoping that those things will heal the wounds and move things up, but they have not. But rather, we've executed them in such a way that they have exacerbated our fault lines. They have made our fault lines so obvious and clear. And again, they have also, widened the gap between the rich and the poor. So lots of people are suffering. They are being hoodwinked and deceived. That with ethnicity and fighting each other, that you can get their problems solved is not true. The leaders are using all that to divide us and also. So Nigerians need to overcome these identity issues, and begin to come together. People who are suffering under the same yoke. We are facing the same kind of problems. So why must we be divided in terms of finding a strategic way of dealing with our issues? As it is now, it looks a little bit far-fetched that Nigerians can go into the streets and demonstrate like it's happening in other countries around the world. It's also far-fetched that our youths, who are supposed to be the drivers of change and envision change and drive it like it's happening elsewhere around the world, cannot do all this. So what is our best option in terms of trying to solve our problem? I think the best option we have, instead of resorting to violence, will be to see how we can make the next elections coming very, very successful in terms of being able to choose who we want to lead us, and also being able to make sure that our votes count. You see, because the people have power until they get that power back. The leaders will continue to treat us the way we don't like. So the level of happiness and the well-being is so bad because like I said, the stress level is very high, and people could burst. So while you are thinking of what the government has done to you and how you are going to get over it, it is very important that you take good care of yourself first of all, because if you are not alive and feeling well, you won't benefit from any change that comes. So let us find ways of making ourselves, readjusting ourselves, dealing with certain issues from the grassroots. Like, for example, all the issues of crime, all the issues of rape and all that. All we are doing is attacking behavior. Fighting behavior will not change anything. Rather, it will complicate the matters worse. So most times we need to make an additional effort to dig into the root causes of these problems. Because at the bottom of all this in the country, you find out the parenting, the way the families are run, the way their families are organized, the loss of family values and all that have played a very significant role in eroding our ability to build patriotism, our ability to build a nation, and our ability to come together and solve problems. Rather, it has exposed us, made us very vulnerable to the manipulation of greedy leaders, and then we must stop this. And the only way we can is either that the youth come out and do something different, or the people decide that enough of election rigging, enough of using force to impose people on us. We have seen the consequences, so it will be insanity if we keep on doing the same thing we have been doing and keep on having the same leaders who oppress us, and we keep on clapping for them for oppressing us. So Nigerians must wake up, and take responsibility for their faith and for their future.
With some of these fault lines that you have identified, we're still looking at how these can come, to pass. We're looking at giving Nigerians credible elections, free, fair, and credible elections. We've seen from the past that this has always been a problem for us, choosing the right people and getting them there. Can we begin to talk about getting that right when the electoral umpire is being controlled again by leadership that would want to, continue to sit?
I think leaders need to learn the lesson that whatever they do, they're individuals and they belong to certain communities. They belong to certain groups of, some villages or whatever. People could go back home and they're attacked and killed for being stupid in office. So look, people need to be very careful about what they're doing and how much they go along the way to hurt Nigerians. Because people are not stupid. You can't keep on punishing people and expect them to, keep on celebrating you. INEC has not behaved well. Whether the president appointed them or not, we don't care. They should do the right thing. If they don't do it, people will take charge. People will take laws into their hands and deal with INEC people. So we must avoid that kind of situation. And I think it's also very important that those who are in charge of some of these kind of positions should consider Nigeria's future. What they are doing does it help the country? Are we benefiting? Is there any benefit that is accruing to us from their stupid behavior? No. So if we keep on doing the same thing and hoping that we shall stay in a glass house that other people can throw stones or you can't throw stones, it's a lie. The more you make people unhappy, the more they'll find a way to deal with you. So people should be very careful in office because one day they will leave that office and they will be accountable to the people. So all these people, causing problems for us, people don't need to fight them generally. They can isolate them and deal with them. So they shouldn't walk us up to that point where we have to chase our leaders around the town, and get them to pay for their sins, for what they have, how much injury and pain they have inflicted on the country. To be frank with you, we have taken too many things for granted. Our leaders have taken us for granted too much. Nobody is creating jobs. We say, empower. We're going to lift people out of poverty with empower. That's not true. It's not true. If people go to the university, they should be able to get jobs that are commensurate with their education. And as a matter of fact, without education, without knowledge, we can't have good governance. We can't create, we can't build, we can't innovate. So what makes people think that education is not important in the whole system? The educational system is collapsed. The government is arguing with ASU, which you shouldn't do. They should provide enough funds and know that education is very important. Look at, they are rusticating Nigerian students, sending them back from the United States. We pay almost how many billions of naira to the British government to Britain as school fees and things like that. When we can provide world-class education, we have the materials, we have everything to do it. Look at even with the experience of the coronavirus. We have not seen the government put up any world-class structure, hospital, health facility. That we show that really we mean business. Now that the big people can travel out of the country, but nothing. Everything we have seen is a makeshift. And a lot of money has been put in, and we don't know where this money is going to. So there's a lot of annoying issues within the system, and people are very angry. And don't forget that an angry man can, really blow up the handle. And he doesn't care what happens to him at the end of it all. So they shouldn't drive the Nigerians off the wall and let them do things that everybody else will regret.
Well, at this point, again, we're talking about responsive leadership. And of course, with responsive leadership, we should be expecting, again, responsive followership. But again, there is a wide gap, between the two. So, drawing the lines and getting the gap closer, what should we be looking at?
Listen, if you're not a good follower, you can't be a good leader. Just like if you're not a good leader, you can't be a good follower. Those things, they work hand in hand. If you think you can't follow and then you must be a leader all the time, then you're mistaken. You see, there is this tendency that people have this feeling of entitlement. They feel that the job or the office, they're entitled to that office, they're staying, and then as such, they know it all. They have this all-knowing approach to governance and everything else. But that's not true. Nobody has a title deed on it on any office in the country. I don't think so, for whatever reason. So that sense of entitlement, that certain groups are displaying and things like that is a very dangerous trend. And it should not happen. Effective leadership is rotational. It is situational. Different leaders come to solve different problems. No one leader can solve all the problems of the country. So leaders understand that their role is situational. They're situational, and they're not supposed to just lead or direct. They're supposed to facilitate, identify the resources within the system, harness those resources and help people to maximize, the application of those resources for the benefit for public good. But that's not what's happening here. Look at the gold in Zamfara. We don't know what has happened to it. People are mining these things for a long time and pocketing the money, and these are resources belong to the whole country. You raise the issue, and somehow it disappears and goes under the carpet. So I think, that we need a new order. We need a completely new order, because using the same method to solve the new problems and things like that cannot work. In fact, insisting on doing them is just pure insanity. And that's what we would like to see in governance.
Okay, Sammy Ihejirika, I will have to go for a commercial break. I'll join you. I'll be with you shortly.
Okay.
Welcome back. It's the program Perspectives this morning, coming to you on Invicta 98.9. And this morning, we're talking about Nigerians, talking about us as a people. We're talking about our happiness and well-being. Can we really say that we are happy people? And is our well-being being taken care of? These are questions that we're asking this morning. And with us on the program as guests, we have Sammy Ihejirika, Chairman, Happiness and Well-being Center, an offshoot of SEMA, sharing with us thoughts about happiness and how we can get to find them. Well, Sammy, let me take you back a little, and that's talking about how we came together as a people, and today we are Nigerians. Some people would say that the formation itself, and collection of these people that are today Nigerians was had its own fault lines from the regions that we got together to become one, and that we have not been able to put us together so that we can really stand out as one people. And again, leadership too has had its played its fault in really making us one people and making us happy. So with the way we are now and the way we're pushing it, some public analysts would say that the Nigerian nation could just be working on turn by turn. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think that crying over spilled milk, doesn't really help anybody. There are challenges everywhere. Nigeria has been amalgamated; it has come together, and then we have a choice. Either we have Nigeria or we don't have Nigeria. So what is the better choice? I think many people will say, well, let's have Nigeria. Nigeria is a great nation, and people, there are all kinds of variety. That is there's a lot of diversification here. Well, I think that the biggest challenge we have so far is managing diversity. That there are diverse opinions, there is diverse history, there are diverse expectations, there are diverse opinions, and so on and so forth. So how do you harness all this, diverse, mosaic structure we have? So that is where the challenge comes. That any leadership who cannot manage diversity, cannot handle Nigeria. And there are ways in which you can handle diversity. There are ways you can make diversity work for you. But there are a lot of potentials in diversity, and Nigeria got all those potentials. So knowledge-based or knowledge-driven leadership is very critical, because the leadership can envision, can have a vision and can have a passion and have a consistency, for getting certain things done. So I think it's important that leaders have the best strategy, in overcoming the kind of challenges we have. Now, secondly, democracy is supposed to be a conflict resolving mechanism. It's supposed to be a mechanism through which you can resolve conflicts, among different people, deal with diversity, because it involves inclusion. And, and inclusion means that everybody is important and every voice matters. So where we have a situation where democracy is not working, then we have this kind of challenges we are dealing with now. So when we embrace democracy, we thought it would help. It would be a way of galvanizing people, a way of listening to everybody, a way of including everybody. But we're taking democracy to be a way of dividing the people, which is not what it's supposed to be. So I think that in terms of skill in management, I think it's very, very critical. There are very obvious ways in which you can handle conflicts, no matter how complicated they are. And there are ways you can also build collaboration among the people. So if you don't have the knowledge to do that, then it's difficult. So there are people who are specialists in social engineering, who can engineer the society and put it together on a good footing and produce results. So we should evade such people. We should find where they are and bring them into governance. So all these charlatans who are out there now and see politics as business have no business with politics, because elsewhere people who serve under very stringent conditions. They make sacrifices to serve the people. But we watch our leaders loot our treasury, take all the money away. So that's not good leadership. So any leader who doesn't work for public good, to maximize public good, doesn't deserve being out there. So Nigerians should be very careful next time around that we have been deceived, we have been hoodwinked, we have been sucked into believing that we can't manage our situation. Of course we can. There's no problem that doesn't have a solution. All we need is to be able to listen to one another, listen to the fears we have, listen to the needs we have, and see how we can work together to satisfy those needs and allay our fears. These are doable things, and they're not mystery. They're not magic. It's been done elsewhere, and it can be done in Nigeria. So the United States, for example, is a very highly diversified country, but it is being managed. China is a very highly diversified country. It's producing results. So what's the problem with Nigeria? So when we have leaders who are not imaginative, who don't have vision, and are out there, in terms of leading, but they are not just leading, but leading by not leading, then we seem to be groping in the dark. So we must make sure that we ask questions next time. If anybody says we're going to give you power, ask them questions. How are you going to produce this power? How are you going to distribute it? Where would you get the money to do it? What about the ones we've invested before? What happened to them? So on and so forth. So we don't just swallow anything the politicians tell us, hook, line, and sinker. Oh, they're going to improve lives in the next 4 years. It's not true. Our experience so far has shown that it's not true. So Nigerians need to ask more questions, be more inquisitive, be more curious about what their leaders do, and of course, show that impunity doesn't pay. And that when people express their power, people's power, impunity will be minimized. People will have to look back on their shoulders and see how angry people are before they take certain steps, they do certain things. So leaders as well should think about the costs and consequences of their actions, not just to dabble and make policies and make decisions that are people against the people, anti-people. They must think about the cost and consequences of what they do and the implications for now and the future.
Ondo and the Edo elections may probably give us, what the bigger picture would look like, when people, again, will all march and go to the polls. Can we, with these elections coming, begin to see what the bigger picture may look like with these elections coming up very soon?
Yeah, but the people have to make the difference, because if we wait on the government, we know their style, we know what has happened in the past, we know how it do, and after all, the Ondo speaker or somebody has said how they rigged the election in favor of the governor in the APC. So we've seen that elections have been militarized, and have been, people have been bulldozed and imposed into office. I think the people of Ondo and all those villages, they should resist all that. They should resist it. No matter the amount of force the government brings and all that to hoodwink the people and deceive them. Look at what happened in Kogi State. And the government was, congratulated them for doing all that kind of crap. So I think the onus lies on the people to take their own future into their hands, because we've seen what is going on. There's so much controversy in governance, so much controversy, because people can make up their minds, and INEC as well. It's not helping the matter. INEC behave as if they're not citizens of this country. They're citizens of this country. They're citizens first before anything else. So I don't know. I think if we expect the government to do something differently from what they have done in the past in terms of mobilizing all the armed forces and everybody to undo and so on and so forth, we'd be judging, miscalculating what they're going to do. So I think it's left for the people of Ondo State, to resist any attempts to pervert their will, and impose anybody on them, because that would be the beginning. But in any case, because the government or the Mr. President hasn't consented to this electoral amendment bill, it still poses a very great problem to all kinds of elections we're going to be having now and in the future. So I think Nigerians must insist that bill be signed and passed into law, because it's also a very veritable platform, to help Nigerians, pursue their desire, to have a very credible election. So without our getting to amend to get that bill signed and that approved, we might be having a difficult time, and we might see a repeat of what happened in 2019.
Well, getting the bill signed, some people would say would again be what government may be holding on to because of its own agenda. That's what another picture would be painted on that. But again, talking about how we've come as a people and how far we've come, going to about 60 years in the life of a nation, and seeing that we are still, what we, who we are and what we're doing, it still continues. But again, you talked about the people. How long can we keep this going? And the question being asked about us as people here, from where will all of this come out if the people must make a demand for good governance?
I think that something is missing out here altogether. Before the military intervention, Nigerians were living happily together. We didn't know so much difference about it. We didn't know so much about our differences, and for our fault lines, they were not so exaggerated or so highlighted as they had been. They are now. They were not so badly manipulated, as such. So it has happened. But then, all these are happening against the backdrop of what the seed the British government sowed here. They sowed that seed of divide and rule, of division. Making every group, enter their own enclave and have barriers around themselves, and it becomes a war of we and them, and they were using that to exploit us. So certain attitudes, certain perceptions have been implanted in the memory, in the psyche of Nigerians, and they seem to be, relying on those, images, that have been sown over the years, because even the politicians have continued to amplify those differences and those British manipulations, the tactics they use in dividing us. So the critical issue is this: can we change the mindset of Nigerians, take them away from this way of thinking? Can we deconstruct the mind of Nigerians and change the narrative? Get them to see Nigeria from a different perspective. Get them to see the possibilities of building collaboration. So we must deconstruct the mind of Nigerians. It must be deconstructed and then reconstructed. People could learn and unlearn and relearn. So we must take advantage of all those kind of options, in dealing with our situation. So let us not think that it will just go away because we're not dealing with the root causes of this matter. The thing is that we must work on the mindset of Nigerians, because that mindset affects every other goddamn thing. So the government has no direct policy on doing this. We have not seen it happen. National Orientation Agency is missing in action. They're not even. I'm sorry, they don't have any clue. So how they can help Nigerians and things like that. So I think any government that comes up with a deliberate and consistent policy, to try to change this narrative, try to address the mindset of Nigerians and make them see positives, look at things more positively. Now they have enemy images. That's why you see hate speeches, hate that, we kill you, we fight, and But that can be all changed. We can help Nigerians to learn a new behavior. We can help them to unlearn the old ones, learn new ones, and even relearn them, so on and so forth. So it's a process. It's not an event. And
Well, and looking at the happiness
the
and
process has to
well-being
start somewhere.
center, from where would you be taking your fight? And that's talking about what you want to do. Would it be top bottom, or top bottom approach, or bottom top approach?
I think that one of the mistakes we've been making is always looking at top bottom approach to development. I think bottom up is also very important. That we listen to the people, hear their fears and their needs, and address them. So if we don't do that, then leadership has no meaning. It's senseless. So we must try to establish, get people to talk, listen to them. What they say might be very offensive and so on and so forth, but it's okay. We listen to them, because everybody has a fear. Why we can't come together? Everybody has a need, what is expecting from a union. So we don't know these things, and they have not been properly articulated, and we find ways of harmonizing them. So what I'm saying, as a matter of fact, is that there has to be a deliberate, consistent, and renewable or sustainable approach to dealing with this issue. It's not a one-off thing. It's not an ad hoc or fire brigade approach, which I've been adopting all this while. It has to be a long-term plan. Very long time, 5-6 years, and then we get the results we want. So it can't happen overnight. Making all those policies that deny people the opportunity to grow while they wait for others to come up is not helpful. It's counterproductive. So we must think creatively and out of the box to do some new things that will improve service delivery in the country.
Okay, let's just take it to the people now, Sammy. Get the audience too to be part of it, and your numbers to call to be part of this conversation is on 081 40,000 989, 081 40,000 989, or 070 87800 989, 070 87800 989. We're talking about happiness and well-being of Nigerians. Are you happy with the way the country's been run? And is your well-being being taken care of? And what are the things that you would like introduced or put in place to make us a happy people and our well-being taken care of? Those are numbers to call on. Let's hear you now. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Terry.
Good morning.
Pius calling you from Malali.
Okay, all right, Pius, let's hear you.
Actually, I'm not happy with the way things are going in this country right now. Because we have failure of leadership in this country. That is what is disturbing me the most. Nobody seems to be getting it right. From the grassroots to the top. And we thought that with coming of this particular government, they would get it right. The things seems not to be working in this country. I don't know what to do, but I know we have competent people that can do it, that can put things in place, that can manage the resources effectively. But our own sentiments, a religious this thing that is disturbing us, that is the main cause of the problem that we are facing in this country. Unless we just keep our own differences aside and begin to think of the nation Nigeria, project Nigeria, everything Nigeria, before something good will come out of anything that we are going to be doing in this country. But if we should continue like this, I'm telling you, nothing will come out from what we are doing. This is my submission this morning.
Okay, Pius. Thank you on that. Well, Sammy Ejirika, that was Pius on the line. Did you get him?
I didn't quite hear him clearly.
Okay, he was talking about failure of leadership
you
and
have 1 minute remaining.
not getting it right. That said would be why we're just not there with Nigeria. Religious divides, ethnic divides, and the blocks too. And leadership has not gotten all of that right for us.
That's right.
Yeah. Hello, Sammy.
I go ahead.
Yeah, so that's what Pius is, his submission.
I think he has emphasized some of the things we already said. That
yes.
It's a huge problem. And every country, every group, every society deserves the kind of leadership it has. So whatever leadership we have, we made that leadership. We created it. So it's up to us to decide whether that's the kind of leadership we want or we want something different. And like I said, it's high time people show their power. Don't let this ethnic and religious identity issues divide us, because that has been the tool, for manipulating the whole of the country and people running away with our resources. So we need to look beyond it, and we must work very hard between now and the next election to see how we overcome such issues.
Okay, all right. I'm going to take it on the next call.
Yeah.
Hello. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, my name is Comrade Gabriel, Texas man.
Okay, Comrade Gabriel.
If there is anybody who is...
Oh, we're having problems with your line.
Yeah.
Okay, Comrade Gabriel.
Hello, sir.
Yes, can you come up with your...
What I'm saying is that the government is concentrating on politics. That the election is going on and other things, but they fail to create job opportunity for Nigerians. Like we in the Texas industry, with 18 years now we close, nobody is even talking, and that's a record of 479 people who died. That's nothing dead in the just as it happened in the Nigerian Airways. When Buhari had come out and give out 10 billion to pay the Airways. Same thing happened in Nigeria. The governor of Ashanti was able to release the release of 2.18 million. Now, we are talking about happiness. What are we going to be happy? Even today, I was speaking to you now, and I've never taken everything. I don't know whether I will say something. Cope with this and COVID-19. So what we are saying, that let the government concentrate on how to create job opportunity for Nigerians. Once these industries are open, just as today, we are happy that the National Art Theatre have been handed over to CBN. Other ones also should follow suit, so Nigeria will get something. We have a lot of unemployed youth. So for me, in the Tesla industry, we are not happy at all. And I tell you that we are not happy, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Comrade Gabriel. Well, Sammy, Comrade Gabriel was on the line. Creation of jobs for Nigerians. How can Nigerians, young ones, be happy when the textiles have been closed for 18 years now, closed down, and with no jobs? How can we find happiness?
How much will does the government have to create jobs in the first place? First of all, the government is owing workers' salaries, they're owing pension. They can pay 30,000 naira only to workers. And they're stealing money that can pay workers 10 times over. So, you can see the irony of the whole stuff. So, I don't think the government is capable and willing, to actually create jobs for people. If they can't pay minimum wage, for Christ's sake, what is 30,000 naira? They forget that the more money you have in the system, the more money you put in the hands of workers, the more you boost the economy, the more you increase their buying power, the more they can hire other people, they can pay laundryman, they can they can do more things, if they have the cash. But I don't know how the economics, I don't know who is advising government on some of the things they are doing. And the legislators and how lawmakers are running away with all kinds of money at the end of the month, and they can pay 30,000. So I don't see that I don't think there's a will, to do anything different from what they're doing right now.
Well, still in the face of that, small calls still coming in. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. My name is Sunday, Nigeria.
All right,
excuse me, Oga Tony Alabi. I'm so happy with you 200 times, because this is the type of people you're supposed to bring in your studio to tell us the truth, what is going on in Nigeria. I'm so happy. Your guys are blessing 500 times with the family. You see, Nigeria, we don't want the truth. We don't want the truth. All we are facing is my brother. Now, is this supposed to be like that? It's not supposed to be like that at all. Because let us say the truth in Nigeria. But all the promise of what they will do in Nigeria, we are not seeing. We are not seeing anything. Please, I'm begging federal government, APC, they should do what they promise in Nigeria. No job. There's no job. Like I said, I'm inside my house, doing nothing. I'm capable to go and work. Work and take care of my family. Because this APC promised us they will open Texas, they will open industries. No, it's not. Before I was working in Texas, 18 years now I've not been paid. I'm inside my house hungry, doing nothing. It's not supposed to be like that. I will have government. President Buhari promises us. Promise. Nothing. Kai, I'm so happy with you. Please, greet FC Party go for me. FC Party go for me.
Sunday, thank you on that. We got
thank you.
Yeah, Sunday. Okay, coming to you, Sammy. Failed promises, and all of that.
Failed promises everywhere. It's littered all over the political space. Failed promises, and there doesn't seem to be any clue as to how these promises could be retrieved. Could be fulfilled. Because if in 6 years or 7 years now we have not been able to conclude, look at even the issue of fuel subsidy. The government came on a talk that fuel subsidy will be removed. That fuel, and the whole thing is a mess, total mess, and we're being ripped off with that fuel subsidy thing because it's a scam. So I think that even the National Assembly is not helping matters either. In other countries, they make laws to create new professions, to help professions grow. If people study psychology in school, they studied whatever law, and instead of them moving around, the government can make laws. The House can make laws to make it mandatory that you use their services for one thing or the other, and that creates a lot of jobs. So lawmaking is also very important in job creation, and we wouldn't be looking at the president alone. We should also look at the lawmakers, because they're just there talking about other issues that are not very relevant to the young people and those who need to be uplifted. They can think of ways of using the lawmaking, to create new jobs, to make certain professions and certain things people study in the school to be more easily applied to the society. So we are wasting resources, and because there are people who don't know what to do are in charge. If they know what to do, things could be done very differently.
Okay, I'll just squeeze in this call. Make it my last call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Alabi.
Good morning.
This is Chief Amutetu Oguneza, calling you from Kaduna.
Okay, Chief.
Yes, good morning to your guest.
Good morning.
Mr. Alabi, we need to tell ourselves the truth. You see, before I'm seen to be a happy man in Nigeria, it's when the people from the age of 50 years downward will become a leader, will be in the House of Assembly, instead of recycling now the age of my father, 85, 90, 100, and some even forget to say where they born them, carry affidavit to be a 25 years old man. It's very unfortunate. You understand me? Now, look at what we are facing. As my brother said, look at the Abeokuta Power and Steel. Look at the fuel subsidy. Mr. Taylor, you know why sometimes when we are talking, some of us will normally be angry. These people come in the platter of gold that we are going to be insecurity with the talk of that will be forgetting story. We are going to be infrastructure, but what are we seeing on ground? Mr. Taylor, if you permit me, I will bring some children to your station this morning who run away from their communities based on because of insecurity. You understand me? So are we seeing this thing now going on and on every day? Even as we said about the House of Assembly, it's very unfortunate. Look at the governor of my own state who come that they will win election. Tell me what this man has done in Imo State for the past how many days he has been there. None of them have a master plan of even how to be a good leadership. To even provide one particular thing to the state. At least the Kaduna State government can boast of I have built 1 or 2 roads. But it's not enough for the past 6 years. It's not enough. We have the capacity, we have the money, we have all the resources, we have the money, but none of them are even capable of giving it to us. Rather, they have. If they tell somebody that today Magu will disclaim, they will tell us that Magu have a house in Dubai in the EFC. Will you believe that? But we see those things coming because of what? The 8th Assembly refuse to pass this man, but they say he must be there. Now he has the house where you say the mother have a house. He also has a house. Then now we chief to question you. It's very unfortunate.
Okay,
thank
Chief.
You, Mr. Chief.
Thank you.
For giving us the opportunity to
all right, Chief. Could you just just round it off for us, Sammy?
Okay, I guess many Nigerians are angry, they're unhappy, and their cholesterol level is rising. and their stress level is getting so high. So I think people need to pay attention to their own health first of all. You must find ways to overcome these challenges you have in your mindset, because otherwise they'll bog you down. So while you are thinking about the challenges of Nigeria, also think about what is the toll it's having on yourself, on your family, and so on. How do you cope with all that and still be able to challenge what's going on? So happiness is not just something that you let the government build for you. You have to find your own happiness, and then when you are happy, you are well. And don't forget that building happiness and well-being depends on your relationships, not on the amount of money you have. People steal so much money and think that money can make them happy. The happiness money provides is momentary. It is only good relationships that can build good life. So we must try to cultivate good relationships and have a good heart, to be able to have a good well-being and be able to face the future. Because without being healthy, nothing works.
Thank you, Sammy Ihejirika, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, Johnny.
Okay. And that will just be about the size of the program Perspectives this morning, talking with Sammy Ihejirika, Chairman, Happiness and Wellbeing Center, an offshoot of SEMA, telling us what we can do to make us happy. We'll come back with Perspectives tomorrow, same time, same station. Dockers, thank you for connecting us with the people. Good morning.